need to, yeah. Today that we must also tell the importance of digitization, and that's why we are talking of AI or artificial intelligence. Uh, on the changes that we have done, our syllabus, we've done quite a lot of changes, bringing in, of course, the data analytics, the digital business. So many areas of AI which is brought in, and we thought that this is not only for students but also for members, because when we do certain changes for the students, it is really necessary for the members also to update themselves. So today we are very happy that all of you have joined this conference, because I know that it is not only our local members and other invitees who are here, but there are a number of foreign participants. Uh, in fact, there are a number of our friends from India who have been present, because one of my friends to whom I sent the e-flyer, he had circulated it through a lot of them, and I found that number of them have also registered. So that's something that is very good for us, for them to find out. And also you can send whatever that you have on Q&A. If you have any questions, you can send them to us. So now, in order to just to start this, our process would be, of course, we have the presentation by Mr. Conrad Dias, who's the director, LOLC Holdings PLC, is also chairman of LOLC Finance. And of course, in the holdings company, he is responsible for driving digital and AI strategy globally. And as you know, Mr. Conrad Dias has been closely involved with us. He is a member of CMA, a member of the Chartered Institute. He's got his MBA and so many other qualifications. But the most important thing is that he's a fintech enthusiast who innovated many financial technology products and solutions. And he's the founder of iPay, a revolutionary platform beyond payments, and founder of OES, another fintech platform that making every day a payday. His thought leadership on technology and contribution in the field of ICT to the industry, society, and in LOLC Group was recognized by many local and international awards, including the prestigious Computer Society of Sri Lanka CIO of the year 2016. He was also awarded the Professional Excellence Award 2017 by the Institute of Certified Management, that is CMA Sri Lanka. Further, he was selected as one of the 11 inductees of the Global CIO Hall of Fame 2020 and CIO 100 honoree for the year 2020, the only Sri Lankan to get this accolade, and also, of course, the CMA Top 50 Icons in the year 2021. So I think we have someone who is really not only qualified, but also in the practical field who has done extremely well. Because as you know, management accountants are there really to give solutions. As I said earlier, we are not only digitally enabled, we are value driven and also solution savvy. So you have to provide solutions. So that's one of the reasons that we've invited. So now I have great pleasure. Of course, the others I will invite later, but I will just say that our moderator will be Senior Professor Dr. Kennedy Gunawardena. He's a member of the CMA Council, and he's also the head of the Department of Accounting at the University of Sri Jayawardenapura, and one who has been really closely involved with the digitization and digital technology, and he's been very much involved in the accounting area and management information systems. I know that he has quite a lot of things on record, but I just gave a brief description of him. Then, of course, we have Mr. Prabhash Galagedara. I had invited him because he is someone who has written a book, and he is also an industry executive with over 20 years experience. And he's also been at the University of Sri Jayawardenapura. So I'm sure that Senior Professor Kennedy Gunawardena would have taught him when he was there, because he was in the department of, he did accounting there. And he's also done his CA, CPA, and also he's been a member of CMA, and he's been at the Harvard Business School, where he's done education in the field of disruptive innovation. Actually, he will be speaking, giving a few comments, which I'm sure will be useful. And as I said, Professor Kennedy will also be giving his comments, plus also uh, handling the Q&A session. And all of you could send your Q&A sessions, questions on the Q&A. So may I now invite Professor Kennedy, Professor Mr. Conrad Dias, who's the keynote speaker today, to commence the address. Over to you, Conrad.
Thank you very much, Professor Lakshman, and good evening to every one of you. I think let me start without taking too much of time. I think this AI, if you really look at it, is a topic that which is being discussed at many forums today, and it has become a topic of the year, I would say, or topic for the last 18 months. Today, I think when we look at the AI evolving landscape, if you really look at it, every one is talking about AI. So before I begin, I just want to make a statement of disclaimer. I think some of these opinions are my personal opinions, and it doesn't reflect the organization that which I work for or its subsidiaries, unless otherwise specifically mentioned with reference, because there are certain things that which we do in AI as an organization as well. So the AI hype, if I may talk about it, I think if you look at today, I saw in AI is considered as one of the most searched words in the technology field, or technology words in ranking top 4 in terms of as a word in all the searches, whether it's a Google search or YouTube search, it is the word that which is being spoken about. If you look at the last 12 months of 12 to 18 months, especially with the introduction of generative AI, which I will talk about it a little later, every large corporate CEO of the technology companies, whether it's Google's Sundar Pichai or Microsoft Satya Nadella, they're all, or even Facebook or the Meta's Mark Zuckerberg, everyone is talking about AI and how the AI can either revolutionization of the AI in their industry, and how they are investing as a company and focusing on the AI. So this is something, even though it shows as a hype, I don't think that anyone can ignore. And you see a lot of investments. These are two simple examples which we have used recently, not later than 1 month ago. Microsoft announced 100 billion investment in Stargate AI supercomputer with the OpenAI, which is OpenAI, the ChatGPT innovator with Microsoft. So, and then yesterday I saw that the Microsoft has announced another 2 billion investment into AI journey with Satya Nadella's speech in Indonesia, where he has given an address to the Indonesian market. So if you look at the AI journey, the journey of AI, artificial intelligence, of course, we heard it in the recent past, but it has been there for over several decades, starting from 1950s, where 1955 the AI word was coined, and then it came through many cycles. Of course, we observe from late 1960s to 1980s, which is called the AI winter period, or term as AI winter, which was very silent. I think there was a period there was an overpromise and an under-delivered in AI because of various reasons, like the computing power, not availability of the computing power that is required to do the AI models which was described. But today it's a complete different era that we are in. And I just want to share some of the key highlights in this AI journey. As I mentioned, 1956, John McCarthy coined the word artificial intelligence in one of his projects, and the AI was used, especially starting with games, and IBM with IBM, the game called Backman was they introduced AI as a machine to beat the moves or to moves that humans have never seen, was being able to discover through the AI models that it was developed. And then IBM's Deep Blue in 1997, which basically or the game of chess, which was beaten the world champion of chess. And then IBM Watson, which is a supercomputer which beats the Jeopardy game in the Ken Jennings was beaten in 2011. And then what was considered as the AlphaGo project with Google, which beat the game called Go, Chinese game, which has the several million movements. Still, the computer were able to beat the human. So this is a couple of journeys. But as you see, in the recent past, in the last 1.5 years or 2 years, in 2022 November, when ChatGPT was introduced to the world, that it took a different journey or different stance in terms of every organization concentrating on AI and looking at AI. As you see now today, even though it was started with that is called more of a generative AI arena, but the generative AI which was started with the ChatGPT introduction in 2022 has now been after the introduction of ChatGPT, you see coming from Microsoft, which is the copilot, then the Google introduced something called Bard. Now later it's changed as Gemini, and Stability AI, Midjourney. There are so many players that in the field of AI, which is using these large language models or generative AI models that we are talking about. So AI as this is a little bit of a ChatGPT journey, and it was introduced in 2022, and so many other. I don't want to spend that much of time on this, which I just described. And the ChatGPT's journey, which basically outsmarted every adoption curve in the world that ever have been in the previous years. As you know, ChatGPT reached 5 million users within 5 days compared to many other platforms which has taken months. So it's a new record that which kept with the introduction of ChatGPT. And some of you all, if you all have tried at that time, it was very difficult to get into a ChatGPT, even though you had an account registered at the initial stages. It was an issue because of the performance issues, and there was so much of request which was there. So this journey, before I come to this, I'll just pause here a little bit. If you really look at AI, what we have observed so far, which is the AI, which is throughout up to the ChatGPT level, which is known as the narrow AI era, which is the AI which is not which are designed for a specific task. But today, the next level of AI that we are looking at is artificial general intelligence, or AGI, which is much more broad level of AI, where they're talking about having much more power than human beings. Virtually, they're talking about having a consolidated power of many humans. Now, if you look at ChatGPT, it's a very specific task that which can do. However, it has gone to I argue and say that it's between AGI and the AI, or artificial natural intelligence, because the things that you can train a model like ChatGPT or any other GPT models that it can be trained and used with the introduction of various other integrations. It's nearly touching the AGI level, but not there as the AGI level. But of course, the next generation of AI, they're talking about ASI, or artificial super intelligence, which is basically simply defined as the point of where that we reach the singularity level, which is coined, the word which is coined by Ray Kurzweil, where it says that, that is the last, they say that it is the last invention that the mankind will do. Basically, the level of singularity, which they are predicting to achieve in probably in the timelines of between now and 2045. I think Ray Kurzweil, for those who don't know, is a computer scientist who was at Google, and now he's considered as the most accurate predictor of the future. His predictions have come true, and he himself now say probably AGI is much more closer than he thought earlier. Prediction is going to happen much more earlier. So this is the status where that the mankind will invent the last invention of mankind, because that device, the technology that which you are inventing can reinvent on itself. The innovations can happen within. So what is happening is today with the AI, especially with the AGI, is AI is becoming general purpose. What do you mean by this general purpose? Today it's available to everyone's hands, and it became with the ChatGPT, especially the power that which was limited to certain organizations or certain people was available to every general public, so that they can innovate. So you have seen so many other devices, things which are coming up, which are AI enabled, which is making that you and I, as individuals who are who can have access to this general AI, general AI. This is like the era where that this is like creating another industrial revolution era where that with AI. Because if you look at the earlier stages of industrial revolutions, the steam engine became a general technology which paved the way to many industries to transform, many industries to come in. So similarly, the electrification, then the automation, and now we are seeing up to now the digitization and digital, and probably the next era of AGI will be more personalization, and AI-driven revolution can happen because of the fact that it is a technology which is more of a general purpose technology becoming. So AI in accounting, which is the topic of today, which I think we need to deliberate more, and probably I'll spend a little bit of sharing some of the use cases. Is AI shifting the accounting landscape dramatically? If you really look at it early stages, where that we have seen the AI being used for mundane and repetitive task automation, with AI bots being used for data entry, and basically it's more or less considered as early stages as a task automation, right? And even generating reports, generating bots which are generating reports and emailing. I'll share one simple example. As I mentioned, I think Professor mentioned, I am privileged to be a co-founder of iPay as a platform which is running in Sri Lanka. And every day, at the end of the day, midnight, I get a report on iPay. iPay is a profitable platform which are running, and which I get AI-generated P&L on a daily basis from when I say AI-generated, robot-generated P&L, which is configured, and it's getting every day. Morning, I can see what is the profit, or how many transactions we have done, what is the profitability of this everyday profitability. So whether it's a poor day or a Sunday or a holiday, it doesn't matter to the AI, that it delivers me the report what is required, so that I can make a judgment and I know where we stand as an organization. I think that's something that which we need to achieve in our other businesses, but it is a platform like iPay, which is a more digital and an online and real-time platform which works throughout the day and the night and every day. It's very vital that we know where it is and what's the profitability of the transactions of last day's transactions. So that's from a loyalty and an IP company's perspective I shared. So similarly, the machine learning and analytics is something that which is transforming the AI landscape of the accounting and streamlining reporting and predictive models that which can be used through the AI is something, the paradigm shift that we have seen in accounting and the accounting landscape. Not only, I think there are several use cases that we can explore, which I will do as a demonstration from using ChatGPT, how you could do analysis of your accounting using a ChatGPT account, which I just did it yesterday for this presentation only. So what is the imperative for the accountants or the management accountants today in terms of this era? The most important thing is what I believe is upskilling. Upskilling is the more important thing that which is very important for all of us. I think I'm sure most of you all have heard the great statement by Charles Darwin, where he says it is not the strongest of the species that will survive, nor the most intelligent, but one most responsive to change and adapt. So I think that statement is very true in every aspect in today's context, especially with generative AI. So every human being, forget about not only the management accountant, I think needs to understand what is this AI going to do and how, because we will little bit touch on some of the risk that which is there and what this AI will do. And if we are to be relevant to today's market, at least, I think the upskilling is a real imperative for management accountants to thrive in this era. So I think there are so many virtual and social platforms. Today, the education is virtually becoming free thanks to the social platforms which are there. And even if you want to learn something which is what is happening today or what has happened in yesterday's context, in the global context, I think you will be able to learn through the social platform. So I think what is important as management accountants and human beings is the upskilling and learning what these AIs, and especially on the generative AI field, what can they do and how we can be part of it. So I think lifelong learning is a paramount as AI continues to evolve, and accountants who continuously learn and adapt will be the best who are poised to leverage its full potential, in my view. So in the AI arena, one of the very important thing in terms of upskilling is something which is called the prompt engineering, which is vital discipline in the AI. Because I think you will realize that, I mean, if time permits, I can answer any questions on this area. I think the prompt engineering is becoming qualification itself now, where that how do you ask an AI? Because as you know, the AI, what is AI or generative AI especially, is what has happened is the computers have learned the human language now. Earlier, when we used to be programming and doing with early stages of our life, we have to know a lot of computer language to talk to the computer. Today, we can talk to a computer from human language. So the computer has learned so much of human language to a great extent. But as you know, there is a challenge in terms of there are different dialects, there are different ways of asking, because the computer still doesn't have the cognitive power what is there in the human beings. So therefore, you need to prompt the computer or whether it's a generative AI or AI, you need to prompt it in a manner that you need your answer in a manner that you expect it to give. Otherwise, there's so much of a hallucination, meaning that unnecessary answers can be given by a prompt. So therefore, in order to eliminate that, what is important to learn is this thing called the prompt engineering. But today, you don't, I mean, this has also been eased out to a greater extent, which you will see from some of my examples, which I'm going to use in the next few slides. Okay. So the AI for management accountants or generative AI in the management accounting, right? So as we discussed, I think AI, the evolving toolkit in AI, especially on the generative AI side, which I'm going to talk about. So as I mentioned, AI or generative AI can be used, even generative AI can be used to simply automate and standardize the processes, right? And machine learning, I think I mentioned this several times, some of the use cases, but some of the few other use cases, generic use cases, if I may talk about, is you can use financial planning, analysis, and detection of anomalies and detection of fraud, early detection of fraud is very much, pretty much a possibility with AI. So okay. And generative AI landscape, I just want to pause here a little bit and as to just give an introduction to what is the generative AI is all about. So generative AI means that with the design, the AI or the artificial intelligence design to generate any text, image, video, or a voice on an artificial manner with the prompt that you are giving. So this generative AI landscape is rapidly expanding and changing the entire businesses and even individuals' involvement, not only on simple automation of the task, but increasing the productivity and efficiency of the individuals with the generative AI capability. While it has its own challenges and while it has its own risk, which we will try to talk about it in the next few slides. But I must also make a little bit of a confession here. As the generative AI arena is evolving on a rapid basis, every week, every day, every minute, there is a news which is happening in the AI field, right? So I personally, I used to, when generative AI was introduced with the ChatGPT, I was having a very aggressive mode in terms of learning what is generative AI and then learning about the new things which are coming in. But today, I have lost track. Personally, I have lost track in terms of how many new things have come and the capabilities have been built on using generative AI arena. Especially if you really look at it with this is what I consider now is an era like where Apple Apple computers, Apple introduced the iPhone and then the App Store that when they introduced. In 2007, when the App Store was introduced, there have been only 500 applications or 500 apps which was there. And 10 years later, in 2017, or 9 years later, it reached 2.2 million apps in the App Store. And today, it has surpassed 1.7 billion in terms of apps which are there. So once you have 1.7 billion apps, I'm sure everyone will agree, you and I, we will not have the visibility and know what are these apps, each and every apps are doing. So the generative AI arena also has gone into a similar, I would say, similar stage. But only thing is, the difference is it's growing at a much more exponential manner than what it used to happen for the App Store of Apple, where I think from 2012, sorry, 2022 November to introduction of last year, they introduced the custom GPT framework for generative AI with ChatGPT. And today there are millions of apps which have been introduced. Millions of custom GPTs have been created by the individuals with using the capabilities. And so we don't know what exactly is available and what else can be done. So there's a huge amount of exploration in terms of this ChatGPT or GPTs, they call it, in the recent past. So applications on generative AI is exponentially growing, and it's we are living in a very dynamic space. This is similar to what I consider what happened with the Apple introduction of App Store in 2007. So let me share a few. I mean, I wanted to share my whole objective was to share a few use cases and bring some sanity in terms of what you can do with generative AI. And of course, I will use, for the next example, I'll showcase a video which I will play, which was created yesterday in terms of how using ChatGPT 3.5, which is a free edition. As you see, I have not logged in even, right? I wanted to use ChatGPT 3 as an accountant to understand a P&L. So I asked ChatGPT, and if you see this prompt I have written, I want you to act as my accountant and analyze a profit and loss statement. And I'm going to share with you the 2-year 2022-2023 Rees Limited, which is a bogus company that I just created a P&L as my limited. As my accountant, tell me whether there are any potential errors, and also tell me whether there are anything about the numbers that gives cause for concern, right? So this is what it's all about here. And I said, here is the P&L, and I'll just play the video after this. And basically, this is what is mean by prompting, and you're telling the GPT to act like an accountant, so that there's a context which is given, and you will understand the context is very vital in terms of doing these custom GPTs, which I will share with you in a few minutes. So as you see that, I mean, I just copied and cut and pasted the numbers here, right? And I wanted ChatGPT to analyze it. Let's analyze it. And so in few seconds, this is what the ChatGPT is giving in terms of the answers. They are giving analysis of the P&L, where are the expenses are, what is the EBITDA is, the net profit, and what is the comprehensive income compared to. And of course, they're giving, sorry. Sorry, my mistake, I just. So in summary, it says, just stop. In summary, it says that while there is some fluctuations in certain areas such as sales and other income and expenses, the overall trend of these limited seems positive with the improvement in the gross profit and operating results, net profit, and the comprehensive income. And however, the significant increase in the other income and expenses might require further scrutiny to ensure that accuracy and understanding of the underlying reasons. So I think it gives, I mean, this is a free thing, and it was just done with some bogus data. Of course, it all depends on what you feed in, right? And sometimes if there are accountants and probably management accountants, they might feel, oh God, whether I will lose my job by seeing this, because if the ChatGPT can do this, you can wait and see how many other things that you can do with ChatGPT. So let me go to the next example, which I want to use. Is basically on the ChatGPT 4. What's the difference in ChatGPT 4? ChatGPT is a more of a subscribed version, which you need to pay to get in. Basically, it has several advantages where that you can. It's about a $20 monthly payment, and it is a more advanced version than the ChatGPT 3.5. It can produce about 25,000 words compared to ChatGPT 3.5 can do only about 5,000 words. And it has advanced features and advanced capabilities where that you can. Now, if you looked at the earlier example which I used, you had to type in your P&L. It was not an Excel file. It was a copy and paste of the data which was put into the chat itself. But in ChatGPT 4.5, which I will pause it at the right time, if you can see, yeah, okay, I'll just click this, right? And this is 3.5. When you move to 4.5, as you can see, oh, sorry. Can I pause it? Hold on, give me a minute. Yes. Yes. As you can see, when I change to 4.5 here in this message, you can attach a file as well. So therefore, you can just ask ChatGPT you can ask a question and attach a PDF or any other document which you have in terms of ChatGPT 4.5. And as I mentioned, there are GPTs which are built by now. If I just type management accounting, there is accountants. There are so many GPTs will come in, and if you type management accounting, when you go to your Explorer, GPT Explorer, you will see so many management accounting related GPTs which are being created by the community, which you and I can start using it. Next example, I will use one of these GPTs, which is available to analyze much more depth in terms of a PNL and uploading a file. I'll just share it with you. So these GPTs, or what is called the GPTs, are created by individuals who have the idea of different ideas of creating GPTs, and you can go to the Explore GPT. If not, you can go to the ChatGPT screen and you can create your own GPT. You go to this one and you can say my GPTs, right? And customize your GPTs. You can do a customized GPT that you can create on this. So here you can give your prompt and how do you want your GPT to behave in terms of, you can give a context. You are so and so. You are belonging to this company, and you give the context so that the GPT's answers more precise in terms of giving the answers in that context, as opposed to giving a generic content or generic context to your answers. You can build your own GPTs to do this. So let me share I think the time is only about another 5 minutes more. So I'll try to finish this. So this is another example which I use a custom GPT to do a data analysis. It's called the data analyst is the custom GPT. Here is the name of the GPT. And there I just uploaded a file which I download a publicly available document, that is the BOC annual report. And I asked the ChatGPT, can you analyze the attached annual report? And it acknowledged I have annual report of Bank of Ceylon for 2023. What specific analysis information are you looking for? So what can you say? I just asked a simple question. I think this is the prompting. I didn't want to use a big prompting in a different way. I just wanted to give a very basic prompt. And what can you say about the overall performance of the bank? And I'll just play the video. I'll just play it like this. It's okay. So I asked and it did an analysis of the P&L, or not the P&L, BOC, entire annual report, and gave a summary in few seconds, right? So it's a generic prompt, as I mentioned, I gave, right? And it gives a high overview of the financial performance, assets and liability management, operational highlights, and risk and capital management, identifying this as a bank. And in summary, the Bank of Ceylon performance in 2023 reflects a strategic response to a challenging economic environment conditions. It has read probably the chairman's report and the content of the content in that, and given a draft. So this is, as I mentioned, this is a simple basic one. But if you want to ask more, you can talk to this particular upload a document and ask very specific questions as well. So I think this again transforms the accountants or management accountants, and they can concentrate on many other things as opposed to analyzing simple data, but then you can build beyond this in terms of using this kind of tools. And as I mentioned, I just presented mainly on the ChatGPT, which is the hot topic, but there are many other tools which are available around us in terms of doing similar analysis. So let me share a few other things that we can do with this custom GPTs or my GPTs, or use case for management accountants. One of the use cases is report writing. Let's imagine every day that you're writing a report every day or every month. You're writing a report to the board with several ratio analyses, trends, and specific calculations that you do with your data set. You can create your own custom GPT using the ChatGPT 4, and you can create a custom GPT. You can specify those formulas that you want to calculate, or those ratios that you want to calculate. And then you can upload the data set for every month and create a report based on your prompt and your prompt that you have given, how the ChatGPT you want to behave, and then generate that report instantaneously, and probably doing every calculation that you want from a simple data set rather than just doing that calculations. Or you can make the calculation verifications even to see whether you have done a mistakes in the calculation verification in using ChatGPT. Another use case is, as I mentioned, the analytics. Right, further analytics can be done in terms of summarizing performance with a large set of data. You can create a custom GPT to do an analytics of a large set of data and give you an analytics for you as a management accountant to use that analyzed data to respond or use it in your own judgment and be a more strategic management accountant as opposed to just a number crunching management accountant. Of course, I have used the word tax advisory and planning. I myself is involved in doing something in this arena, trying to create a tax advisory, but I have come across many challenges in that. I'm not a tax expert, but I'm using with some of my friends who are there. And I invite, if any one of you want to explore with me on some of your creating a ChatGPT or a GPT, not only ChatGPT, there are other tools which are Mind Studio and many other tools we are using because it requires the expertise. And if you have an idea, you can reach out to me. I can help, and we can probably co-create or help you create on this area. So the tax advisory, I'll tell you with the tax advisory or planning, which I came across, which I created a very simple tax advisory based on the tax data with tax act information, what is available on the IRD. But the challenge is that the subsequent revisions or subsequent releases of the tax amendments are only a reference to the main document. Therefore, the ChatGPTs or the GPT engines is finding it difficult to give a concise answer. So the preparation of that data set is very vital in terms of using. When I say preparation of the context of that, your own data is very vital. And further, if you're a management accountant or an accounting department that you're writing the company's performance newsletter or blog post for a larger audience, which you want to email, again, you can do this. You can create your custom GPT and save it and keep. And next time you need to only put your data set and it'll do the rest for you in terms of increasing your productivity. And then you can take it to a next level by adding value. Okay. So I'll share some of the other language models because I was only talking about ChatGPT, OpenAI. As I mentioned, Gemini is from Google, Llama from Meta, and there are so many other platforms which are available in the market, and other major AI-driven platforms which you can use in the management accounting and the accounting field is where that you can have, there's something called Spark, which is basically specialized assistant, again, using the ChatGPT engine for creating, which has pre-built created prompts for accountants. So the accountant doesn't have to recreate the prompt, but of course, it's more specifically done for the US market. So this is where that opportunity comes for the Sri Lankans, that the Sri Lankan market, we need to do that on our own. And there is something called Digits. It's a new generation automated AI accounting where you can just submit the data, even for a payment, you can upload the document and then it can do a payment. and Canopy is an AI driven accounting software for accounting firms. So there are many other tools that which you can, I'm sure this audience, if they have been using them, there may be many other tools that you can use. So I will, Professor, I can go, but I think I'm out of time. I'm not quite sure.
Maybe
Whether
another 5 minutes you can continue if you like. Yeah, 5 minutes.
Okay. So I think there are a few considerations that we need to look at in terms of accountants when it comes to ChatGPT. That is the ethical consideration and the risks of ChatGPT. One of the biggest issues in these chat or the AI models currently facing is the bias and the discrimination that it has, and the risk of data privacy, and then the transparency, especially with these deep learning models which are being used for designing this algorithm, does not have the full transparency in terms of how it was derived. So there can be issues of how to explain, or the explainability is a major, explainability of the result is a major concern that we have. And then, of course, that human relevance, as I mentioned, and we saw, there are a lot of task-based things that which can be automated, and then whether there is a huge issue in terms of human relevance. Because I can remember when I had the privilege in 2017 delivering the keynote speech at the Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka at their annual conference, and where the topic was also a similar topic in terms of on AI and the next generation of intelligence. And at that time, I can remember I was talking about that AI will be very difficult to mimic creativity. And the creativity was only at a very primitive stage. But today, AI has become creating of images and creating of videos is virtually anything that you give a prompt that they can create. And whether it's fake images or the images that you dreamt of, I think the creativity has gone into, and there is a huge challenge of the people who are creative in terms of, especially creative designers in a dilemma in terms of the relevance of their jobs with this AI. So there is ethical issues that which we have, and of course there are the major legal and regulatory challenges, which requires new frameworks to be introduced in terms of, and regulatory regulations to be addressed these certain things which can happen with the AI. And of course, misinformation or the deep fakes or the fakes. I'm sure some of you all would have seen there was a fake image of Pope Francis that which was created through a generative AI, and there are many other images that which was created. And not only images, the videos are being created with aliens in the planet. Videos have been created as if though it is seen as true, and it was misinformation, and there can be disinformation in terms of, which is easier and more convincingly done using these AI technologies. So I think cybersecurity is one of the key aspects of it. So I think that's something that which we need to really worry about. And as accountants, I think the adoption of AI in accounting is a necessity, but careful consideration of all these things, implications, is very crucial in terms of, especially whether it's an accuracy and fairness that you can bring in to avoid biases that which can create in the financial reporting is very important. So therefore, it's very important that we are aware of the risks, risk, as well as especially what is called the hallucination, which is the generative AI is very famous of, meaning creating something which is not actually true, because the generative AI, as the word suggests, it's generating the next best word and creating that whole thing, and therefore it doesn't have a cognition in terms of doing that. So if you have wrong information, there can be a wrong output that can harm, and it can have major repercussions in terms of for the profession as well as an organization. So it's very important that we take real considerations on these matters. Of course, in the Sri Lankan context, I think there is a huge, bright future for us. Identifying these opportunities, as I mentioned, while it has certain challenges, all these things currently is mainly in the language of English. But of course, Sinhala is possible, but there are a lot of research has to go in. And again, I want to quote that we have engaged with Microsoft in terms of doing something on that nature, because we have a very Sinhala speaking, when I say we, LOLC as a company is engaged with them, simply because of the fact that our clientele is more deep rural clientele, and we need to look at, if we have to embrace AI, we need to look at getting Sinhala as a language into the AI arena. So that's a challenge, but of course, there are so many opportunities which are available for to gain a very competitive advantage. I'm sure certified management accountants of Sri Lanka will be CMA will be a pillar of a partnership for exploring this brighter future for them with AI. I think it's a new era of opportunities. I think in summary, I think it's a transformative opportunity for management accountants, and upskilling is the most important thing. And management accountants can be a more strategic input in this changing environment. Of course, we have to use an ethical use of AI for management accountants is imperative. I think that's conclude my presentation. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the opportunity given to share my thoughts, Professor.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Conrad Dias. I think it was a excellent presentation. In fact, I was wondering, as a professional management accounting body, whether we will also maybe go into extinction, because the AI might take the place of the professional management accounting body also, because now we are teaching all our students on report writing, data analytics, on the tax advisory planning, everything. But you showed that maybe you can put it on to the ChatGPT and get the answer. But I'm sure that would not be the case. I'm sure Senior Professor Kiranikunothna will give maybe have very many more questions. But let me now invite Mr. Prabhas Galagedara, who's been the author of the book AI for Finance Professionals. He has industry executive experience of over 20 years in data analytics, finance and technology, and general manager of one of the largest ASX listed companies in Australia. Over to you, Prabhas.
Thank you, Professor Mandola. So it is a great opportunity for me to come and say hello to CMA members and obviously meet all of you today. So very quick introduction, and I'm going to cover three things. I'm not going to repeat what Conrad said, so I'll try and basically kind of cover some give a different perspective. So my journey began basically back in Sri Lanka as an accountant. I did A-levels in 90s and got into Jawaharlal and did accounting there. While doing that, I basically started doing chartered like most of the guys. I think Conrad, you did chartered as well. So I had this period where I had, I didn't have enough articles back in the day to complete my final examination. So it was about a couple of years. And I had to take something up during that period. This was basically late 90s, and I thought, okay, I must do another professional qualification. And I basically studied IT qualifications. I, basically became a member of professional IT bodies during that time. So that's how I got into technology. And while working at EY, so I was at EY Colombo, and I basically worked in the IT area and obviously continued that for a couple of years, and then moved back into finance. And then when I came back to Australia, basically going around the world, I had this, and I started working back in finance in the organization I work for. Had this wonderful opportunity to go to data and AI in 2015. Around that time, it was relatively unknown, and I was given the opportunity to kind of manage a very large team, about 1,500 people, of data scientists and various data analytics people. And I basically kind of went into that role thinking that I'm going to fail and fail big time, but I can always go back to finance. But that journey basically was a eye opener for me, and I didn't fail in that. I'm still working data and AI, and probably I'm enjoying that, and I'm doing basically data AI product development, similar to GPTs that Conrad went through. So we do develop products using different technologies. So that's kind of my professional journey, and I was a member of CMA at some stage. So and CMA is a very closer place to my heart as well. So thank you for the opportunity. So the three things. The first one is about innovation. There's this myth in the market, and that accountants are not innovative, and we accountants believe ourselves that we are not innovative. I say to everyone, that's the wrong statement, right? So we are good at innovation, but one type of innovation, that is continuing innovation, or sustaining innovation is another word. That means continuous innovation, continuous improvement. We're really good at continuous innovation. We do that at our workplaces. We do that for our own professional careers. We learn new things. We try and improve things at our workplaces. But that is not the right innovation you have to basically do to win in the long term. There is another type of innovation called game-changing innovation or disruptive innovation. So let me take a few examples for that. Let's take Uber as an example. So before I go into examples, what is game-changing innovation? Game-changing innovation is basically coming up with a completely different solution for the same old problem. So the problem is the same, but you come up with a completely different solution for that. Uber, as I said, is one such example. Came up with a completely different solution for the transportation problem. So let's take another example, Airbnb. Again, came up with a completely different solution for the same old problem. Let's take another example, ChatGPT, so the one that Conrad went through, is a game-changing innovation, a completely different solution for the AI problem that we had before. So all of these are game-changing innovation. Let me take cricket as an example, the sport that is very close to all of our hearts. In late 70s, Kerry Packer, an Australian, came up with a completely different format, ODI format, and disrupted the cricketing world. In late, probably in 2010s, around that time, we came up with a completely different solution for the cricketing entertainment challenge we had, to how to attract new audiences to cricket. So game-changing innovation is what we have to do, particularly in the middle of a transformation like now, where AI and computing power is going to basically change the way we live and work. So somehow, as accountants, we have to come up with completely different solutions for the same old problem. The same old problems basically Conrad went through: the accounting, the taxation, financial planning, analysis, and so on and so forth. Do it completely differently. So that's the opportunity we have now. I think we all can basically do that by doing just one thing. So I'm going to move into my second point, which is what's the right way to think about data and AI? Is there a framework for that? So yes, there is a framework, and I call this GMI framework. D stands for data, M stands for modeling, I stand for interfacing. Data, modeling, and interfacing. So this is going a little bit deeper into the technology landscape here. So data is getting data, modeling is doing an AI model, and interfacing is basically using that in your business. So you as accountants, management accountants, have to be really good at understanding all these three things. So you saw ChatGPT, you have to be good at how to leverage these tools and technologies in your day-to-day work to make your life easier. Come up with a completely different solution, a game-changing innovation for the same old problem that you have at the workplace. At the same time, you can also learn DMI technologies a bit deeper. Some of you guys are basically a big tech savvy. You want to basically do a little bit more technology work with your work. You want to basically create power queries and do sophisticated work with your work, right? So that's where you have the opportunity to learn how to get data with your systems, how to create simple AI models using tools available, and how to interface that into your business. So during next years, couple of years that you must learn about these different technologies for you to basically be ready, or for you to be a AI ready person in the workplace. So that's kind of the second one. Third one I wanted to cover was my experience basically working in the workplace, doing all these different things. So I work for a company called Telstra Corporation Limited. It's one of the largest companies in Australia and world, and it is a telecommunication company and media company. Our revenue is about 30 billion roughly, so which is about 1/5 of the Sri Lankan economy. We have about 30,000 staff members. So it's a large organization with a large workforce, and it's a very old organization. So it's similar to Sri Lanka Telecom, being an old government-owned entity, privatized and then transformed. So in our organization, we have an objective of basically getting AI in 100% of all our processes, 100% AI penetration in all areas by next year, end of next year. That is our corporate objective. So by 2025, we want to have 100% AI penetration in every single area in our organization. Today, we are at 50%. That we report these metrics to the market as well and provide commentary around what benefits we have generated on the back of them. So today, our finance functions have been impacted by AI. Our sales functions have been impacted by AI. Our operation functions have been impacted by AI. Our network technology functions have been impacted by AI. AI has been impacting every single area. So that's basically the current situation, and we are going to be 100% in another 12 months' time. It's a challenging target. We are on track. Let me give a few examples of how we have done that. Let me take the mobile. We have a very big mobile network that spans across millions of kilometers in Australia. Australia is the 5th largest country with a population of 25 million, very similar to Sri Lanka, very small population in a large geography. So we have to run a network that is basically as big as the Indian network, basically cover the vast geography of land. So we have network points across the whole country. So we have to maintain them, we have to repair them, we have to basically service them. That's a huge cost, billion-dollar cost for that. What we have done for that is basically automated all of that by leveraging drone capabilities. Drone capabilities have been incorporated with AI, and with these drones go and basically monitor and basically do all the repair works in these network points that are basically thousands of kilometers away. Usually, our technicians take a couple of days to reach these places, and these technologies basically do that much faster and easier. There are instances where sometimes these technologies cannot handle, and that's when we basically send people there. So that has significantly reduced our network running cost. On the network itself, there's a huge issue of fraud on these networks. As you can probably see in Sri Lanka as well, that you get a lot of text messages saying that, okay, go and, update your delivery address, for your delivery and that sort of stuff. That's a common problem across all the countries. In Australia, so the scam is about $3 billion every year. A lot of people lose money as a result of. On our network, basically, what we do is we get millions of calls, text messages, and network connections every day. We block more than million fraud messages using these AI technologies. So that is saving billions of dollars for our own customers plus ourselves as well. So these are a couple of areas that I wanted to highlight on the network side of things. Then coming back to the sales side of things, we have significantly leveraged technology to run our sales activities, basically operation activities, very effectively. With a customer base, with a half a population of Australians, basically with us, we had, about 30 million annual calls that we get every year about 5 years ago into our contact centers. That's about billions of dollars of, labor. So we wanted to reduce that significantly. That's roughly more than, one call per Australian. So what we did was basically leverage technology. That was the only way to reduce cost of these activities. We identified what these root causes were. Algorithms also understood why certain activities were happening, and gave us an insight as to what was going to happen before anyone calls us or basically comes into our different digital ecosystems. Now we have significantly reduced our basically sales activities or call activities through these technologies, even below 10 million. So that is basically about more than $1 billion into our bottom line. So that's kind of doing sales activities much more effectively. Conrad mentioned about fraud and fraudulent activities. That is a common problem that is translating into bad debts and so many things like that in our P&L. We run, automated, credit engines to identify and understand the fraudulent transactions much more earlier. We call this real-time fraud detection, and these AI technologies basically identify fraud behaviors of our basically customer base much more earlier. Coming back to the GL side, the finance side of things, right? So we have automated all our GL activities, revenue recognition, cost recognition, all our basically month-end journal, all of that through various AI models that we run. So revenue recognition and accruals are basically covered by one set of AI models. Cost activities are covered by another set of that. So these activities basically enable us to close our books before the month end, on the last day of the month. So our month end has come down to 0 days now. Previously, we took roughly 10 working days. That is about 3 weeks to finalize the financial statements. Now you can get the financial statements on the following day, on the first day of the following month. So that's a significant saving and a huge opportunity for us to respond to market, conditions as well. When a competitor basically, runs a competitive marketing or market offer in the marketplace, we literally can respond to that much faster now. As a result, our financial stability has basically significantly improved, and our basically ability to report to market accurately has significantly gone up as well. So at the same time, let me take another
Otherwise,
example.
we have to cut short here. If you can finish off
Yeah.
soon. Yeah.
Yeah, no worries. So we are similarly using AI in other areas as well. So this is a technology that is going to make our lives much easier. It is going to basically do our jobs, certain jobs much easier and much faster. And it is our opportunity to basically kind of understand how to do it and kind of be ready and, be the management accountant the organization needs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhash. We will have a short Q&A. So I will now like to hand you over to our moderator, Senior Professor Kennedy Gunawardena. As you know, the Senior Professor Dr. Kennedy Gunawardena is a Professor of Accounting Information Systems and Chair, Department of Accounting, University of Sri Jayewardenepura. Senior Professor Gunawardena is the first Sri Lankan who made link with artificial intelligence to the field of accounting and finance for corporate sector predictions. He has developed new course unit called Artificial Neural Network for Accounting, and it is very popular course among the university students today. So there are many more, but I will now invite Senior Professor Kandi. Maybe he could give some comments, and then there are a few questions. And if you have any questions, you can send it on Q&A. Over to you, Senior Professor Kennedy.
Thank you, Professor. It's a very interesting and very important presentation. Both of them now done a very good job. I'm so thankful to both of them. You are talking about the right now. Actually, it's a very correct topic which we are, doing some research in the university system. Actually, the first I come back to the Mr. Dias, I think you already explained the chat GPT and all the challenges and kind of a things. Actually, for a university students are concerned, actually, that is the input to the corporate sector. That is the input for all the industries today. We have a lot of issues about the chat GPT, especially we can't provide the assignments, we can't provide the report writing, and students are come up with the marvelous reporting. Their assignments are perfect because they use ChatGPT. 100% they use ChatGPT and come up with the good answers. Now, what we do is we started with the presentation part. It's a much more soft skill part. Under the presentation part, I think we can get code to them whether they have done in their own way or not. What I thought in my own experience, I have introduced the artificial neural network for my students. I really want to ask from the Mr. Dias, this corporate sector prediction, like, especially the bankruptcy prediction, stock market analysis, or the loan evaluation mechanism. Do you using in your industry such a things by using AI? That means train the data, testing the data, recall the data. That's a black box is working behind that. I should want to ask one thing from you. And the second thing, I think the both can answer these two questions. It's also very essential. What are the challenges and barriers of introducing or popularizing, especially popularizing these all AI techniques or ANN techniques in a Sri Lankan context? Not the AI itself have some challenges and barriers. I'm asking in local context, our organization context. We want to popularize it, or we want to introduce certain AIs to certain industries. What challenges, what barriers we have?
Thank you, Professor. Certainly answer the first question first, and basically the usage of AI in terms of our day-to-day business. Of course, we are using several models. For example, from an LOSE perspective, we are using the early prediction models for early defaulters to identify and to do corrective action in terms of our loan portfolio. Then the second is basically with the alternate data and data. We are using many, like in some countries, we use different alternate data. And even in Sri Lanka, we are using with the alternate data and credit scoring algorithms which we are using for loan underwriting. And then there are various other things that which we use. Number two is for second loan, or rather we say the top-up loan or the second loan or a green channel, because there are certain challenges in terms of our segment of the market, especially because especially when we are considering the medium and micro entrepreneurs. So those micro entrepreneur category doesn't have footprint in the banking ecosystem, and so they don't have the CRIB report and they don't have the behavioral report. they are always on to unsolicited money with the unsolicited money lenders. So therefore, there is no record of them in the system. If you really look at it, of the Sri Lankan banking system. So therefore, we don't do directly for underwriting, but the second loan generation, what we call a green channel, is based on his behavioral data and analytics. We have created a model where that we do automated underwriting model. So there are various such applications that which we have used in the Sri Lankan context as well as a global context. As you know, LOS is not only a local company. We have platforms in some parts of the world, completely automated loan underwriting, from loan origination to underwriting for certain types of loans. Places like even in the countries like Kazakhstan, we have something like that. And so we are doing several other initiatives in that line. So we are using I would call it AI to a certain extent. So some are more for machine learning driven things, and some are pure play rule-based AIs that I would call it. So there are various, as you know, there are AI spectrum is far more bigger. So we are using different levels of AI at different projects. I hope that I answered the first question. And
Yes,
you want me to
yes.
go to the second one, or do you as well at the same time?
Yeah, please go with the second one. Then I will come back to the Prabhas later.
Okay, thanks. So the second question that you asked from Sri Lankan context challenges, we have faced many challenges in the Sri Lankan context. Number one challenge is, if you really look at it, we are very, I would say, surface level managed country in terms of we are not concentrating on data, and the data is the biggest challenge that I have seen. We don't have that much of data collected in the organization. This is not only for our organizations. I have seen this in many organizations wherever that we are trying to engage with in terms of the data. So the data storage, actually sometimes we are driven by only to get, even if you take a loan, we are trying to give only a very specific data and get the loan done or that action completed, as opposed to creating the data what is required. So the collection of data is very poor. And the second thing is, I think from a Sri Lankan country perspective also, I think digitization, I know that the Sri Lankan government has a big plan in terms of digitization, but as you know, some of these things to be done, we need to have the things like the national identity system, digitization of that, and all that needs to be available. Now only we are moving towards that. So there is a little bit of challenges in that area. And then, of course, as I mentioned, from a generative AI era perspective, there is another challenge that which is especially that we are more of a language. If you look at it, our customers, that is one of the biggest things. Now, I heard Prabhas was talking about some of the customer engagements are being automated. So we were through generative AI and AI tools. But when we look at it, if you look at our call center, 90% of the calls are from native language. And another 5% of the calls are from Tamil. And then you have only 5%. So the opportunity for investment into an AI-based or an entire engagement using AI at this given moment with the tools available is limited to, until the models are developed and until those are coming up, is limited to only a 5% of our business. So sometimes from a value proposition perspective, it doesn't make any value creation doesn't happen with regards to the adoption. So those are the adoption challenges that I would say. Of course, in the
Mr.
past,
Dias,
yes.
can you explain a little bit about the popularization strategy now? Most of the companies, I think, the readiness and the awareness is very low. I know that your company and some few listed companies are quite okay, but majority, because something we need for a whole country, not a few sector. Then what we can do for popularizing these techniques, this AI,
I
and
mean, one,
among
one
our
of the
industry people?
Yeah, one of the key things is things like this, what we are doing now with the CMA in terms of sessions like this will definitely
Yes,
help.
yes.
At least 200 to 300 people are knowing what it can
Correct.
do and what the value that it can create. Of course, I think
That
it's
is the
not,
gap I think the professor can answer, right?
yes.
Under the CMA.
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
And I
Yeah.
think we need to broad base it. You're 100%, I 100% agree with you, Professor. I think if you want to, if something to be adapted, I think it needs to be in the minds of everyone and the hands of everyone. So I think the hands of everyone has happened. If you really look at it, today the technology is democratized to a greater extent. It's available to anyone virtually free. As I explained, even not only ChatGPT, there are many other tools available. So the democratization of the technology has happened. So now I think to drive the adoption, I think it's an education and bring them into the ecosystem is the one what I think that we need to do.
Thank you, Mr. Dias. Prabhas, you have anything to add for us? Some new inputs in your end?
Look, in our case, Professor Kennedy, Australia is a somewhat lucky country, and we basically get most of the new technologies first because of the lower population and English speaking, being an English speaking country, and the population is very small, so we get a lot of basically new technologies incubated here. So we are lucky that way. And then as a result of it, the general consumer is tech savvy. We probably have the highest iPhone penetration. Technology penetration in Australia is generally higher, so the consumer is a little bit savvier. But when it comes to organization, the biggest transformation that we did in Australia and probably maybe in other parts of the world was basically the digitization that we did. I think Conrad mentioned. So our organization spent about $1 billion digitizing our ecosystem. So when I went and, obviously I come back to Sri Lanka very regularly, we did not do that digitization in Sri Lanka. So that's kind of a big miss in Sri Lanka. And then the second one that I want to basically mention is there is no digital ecosystem hosted in Sri Lanka for Sri Lankans. If I take Microsoft as an example, Microsoft platforms are hosted basically in Singapore, India for Sri Lankan companies. So if you are a LOLC or large organization, hosting your data elsewhere on the public cloud is not possible. So there are regulations around that, right? So that is a big miss. I think it's a government activity that someone has to take charge of, and then probably get these large technology companies to take care of the Sri Lankan market. It's not a small market, right? So it's a reasonably sized economy. I think it's about 75 billion to 85 billion. It's a relatively large economy. So those are the two things I think I saw. The digitization investment, obviously due to economic conditions, maybe we missed it. So we hadn't done that. And then all the big tech companies haven't invested in Sri Lanka. So we have to push them to invest in Sri Lanka.
Thank you, Prabhas. There are few questions from audience. I think we have to ask, I think, such a question also. Otherwise, we are not very fair, right? Fair to them. The one gentleman asked that since the international stock market investment using AI are getting popular nowadays, very much. No, this is just a statement. If I look in the international stock market using AI, how is it possible to identify a fraudulent investment? I think those are rather than the questions. I think just the statement. Anyway, Prabhas, can you add something to those two gentlemen? I assume that Mr.
Yeah,
Dyer's too
robot
tired, I think,
advisors are pretty
explaining all.
Yeah, robot advisors are pretty common. So it's a very low cost investment mechanism. I'm talking from a Australian point of view, or mechanism in Australia. So most of the funds offer robot advisors, and then you can take those options and trade using the robot advisors in Australian market as well as the US market. So it's a cheaper way to invest, and that doesn't give you any recommendations like your buy side or sell side investment advisors that you have in Sri Lanka. But it is an option available for anyone to trade in stocks or crypto or any other instruments basically in the
That's
marketplace.
true.
Yeah.
Now, Mr. Dias, now I think I also work with one of the ADB project to introduce the crowdfunding platform to our system, our SEC. But still, they are not implementing such a things. I think we have already prepared, not only myself, and there is a foreign consultant also from USA. Both together, I think you heard about the crowdfunding. That's another the options. I think the very important things for I think we can collect the money. But anyway, it's still very slow. What do you think about that in Sri Lankan contest? I think that's what I'm still worried about. That all the new technologies are available. Maybe the people also know that, and the executive CEOs are like you are very familiar with such a things. But implementation parties have a lot of issues.
Yeah, Professor, I
Any
think
comments?
yeah, I think that if you look at it, I'm very close to the fintech side and financial technology, being an innovator of some of the fintech platforms. So the crowdfunding was in our radar to a certain extent as well. But I think, unfortunately, one of the key issues that the crowdfunding has, in my personal opinion, is that I think there needs to be certain regulatory frameworks needs to come in to drive the crowdfunding, especially if you look at from a current regulatory framework, because of course, when you say crowdfunding or taking money from the general public, of course, needs to be regulated to a certain extent. But if you put it to the same frameworks that we have now, whether it's a banking or a financial services framework which is there, I don't think that there is a go. I mean, you can't go with that kind of a regulation. So you need to innovate and come up with a certain amount of fintech regulations needs to be there. I think that's very, very important in my view. If you are to look at the fintechs, even if you look at there are fintech products which are coming into the market, because there is no regulations, sometimes in the recent past, if you may have heard that there are a lot of internet-based loan schemes, right? So web-based loan schemes, which was introduced by different parties, but that became a huge issue to the
Lot of
country.
pyramids. Lot of
Pyramid
pyramids
schemes and the loan
activities. Yeah.
schemes. So I think if you bring it under a framework, it's easier to do because then you know. So I think the central bank has to be more proactive in terms of doing that, in my view, where that they should introduce certain rules and regulations and basic regulations, not to regulate and not to have these schemes coming in, but studying and probably opening up a little bit is very important to broad base even a crowdfunding platforms. Otherwise, the problem is that the crowdfunding, the funders will go dry if there is no regulation in terms of observation, and probably the promoters will get the money and they will get out of it freely. And if you don't have proper regulation, but if you try to do that in a more banking and a financial services sector regulation perspective, it's more or less a no-go, because that has different frameworks which are protecting principles that which is there, which is not ready or not doable for or a crowd funding like an arena.
Thank you, Mr. Dias. Professor, what to do? There are many questions, I think, in the
No,
board.
you carry on for another 5-10 minutes. Okay. No problem.
Okay, there is another question. They ask from CMA point of view. So are there jobs opportunities in Western countries for accounting firms for those who complete CMA qualified students? Please, I think the Professor Vatawala can answer this
Yeah,
question.
yeah. Of
This
course,
opportunities.
CMA is really management accounting. So, there are, if it is in a professional firm, it is really on consulting area. But recently, as I said, we are of course members of the International Federation of Accountants, a global body for the accounting profession. But as far as recognition is concerned, each country has their own recognition. Recently, we signed a member pathway agreement with CPA Australia. So those who qualify at our exam and obtain the membership by passing two core subjects and one elective, they can become members of CPA Australia. They can do the exam from here. Similarly for ACCA also, where they give quite a number of exemptions, and a lot of them are doing that. So there are two now people who are working in Dubai. Actually, there are people who are working with maybe part qualifications, and we are providing them maybe online education, and a lot of them are now engaged in completing the exam. So it really depends on each country and the requirements of each firm, and that's how it works. But in all countries, all professions want to safeguard their own profession, but they have maybe the arrangements with a number of firms as to how they can get the membership.
Thank you, Professor. I think there is another question. Professor, is there any educational courses for non-university students to get equipped for the future of AI? I think in our university system, we have a certain courses for the undergraduates, even though our paid courses also like a diploma, professional, like MBA, under that program also we provide the AI. I think this question is very important for a CMA to think about in future. I think CMA is more in management accounting, cost accounting side. I think they have to introduce a certain course units. I think in AI, ANN, I think such a course units is very essential. Professor, what do you think
Yeah, yeah.
about that? Do
Actually,
you have any discussion?
we already launched for people with O-level qualifications. It is called the CAT program, the Certificate in Accounting and Technology. So that will come, but maybe we may have to have a discussion with Mr. Conrad Dias to add maybe some modules, especially which is coming from AI, and even Prabhash will be able to contribute to it.
Yes, yes. Uh, Anything from Prabhas, your side about education and equip the young people? You know, that's very essential job. We are in the education field always, right? We have to give some inputs to our students.
Yeah, I think there are a number of opportunities. As Professor Vatawala said, we can work together and probably create something there.
Thank you.
In fact,
And Mr. Dias, is there any opportunities from your organization, especially for internship, some training, the students who already studied AI?
Professor, certainly, Professor, I think we have a huge intern program. What we do, because we have an IT company as well. LOC Technologies is an IT company, which is almost about 400 plus people are there, 150 plus people are there in that. And out of that, at any given time, 40% of the employment is mainly the university students, or with which we call it a 5-year or 4-year internship program, where we spend on their entire education, as well as engage them in terms of their journey towards to be a professional in terms of the career. So we do that continuously. We are doing it for the last. This is the concept that when I was the CEO of the company, which we started way back in 2009 time frame. So I think we have been continuing every year, and now we have about 40% of our students are from that, and we are proud that we have produced many, and some of them are not in Sri Lanka. Of course, that's a challenge that we have, especially the recent past with the Sri Lankan economic conditions, that we lost a lot of people for migration. I think so. Those are the challenges we have, but somehow we managed to keep them as a team. So I think we are doing that, Professor, continuously, and we are happy to partner with any university also.
Thank you, Mr. Das. Thank you
Professor
very much.
Kennedy, on the
Thank you.
education part,
Yes.
I think Prabhash wants to present his book, AI for finance professionals. So can we give him a little time to present it to us?
Sure. Prabhas, under you.
Yeah, I would like to present this to Professor Bhattawala. So I know this is a slightly different way of presenting a book. Actually, Professor Bhattawala has been a pioneer in the field of accounting and probably in the Sri Lankan economy as well. And when I started off, doing chartered accountancy, you had already been past president of the institute, so your name was a very renowned, giant of the field, and it's a privilege to basically meet you and talk to you today, and have this opportunity to talk to members of the CMA as well, and obviously more than that, to basically present you this copy for you. I will be basically sending hard copy via post for you. So this book basically covers case studies, fundamentals of different business frameworks and theoretical aspects of it. So it's a privilege to basically offer you a copy.
If you can raise the book up, we can see it. You have the book.
I think you might not be able to see it because of the background.
Yeah, can't see. Yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, thank you very much, and we are very happy that you've been able to publish this book, and we'll have it in our library for our students. Plus, also we will get your support, as Senior Professor Kennedy mentioned, that we should get into the field of AI and also include both you and Mr. Conrad Das would certainly be able to help us to do this. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhas, again for your interesting book. And another thing I think I just want to mention about the Professor Vatawala, he already introduced the gold medal to our university students also who completed the AI or IT part. That means the students who got highest marks in IT, I think under CMA, he already introduced the gold medal. Thank you very much about your generous contribution to our university system. Sir, then thank you very much. What to do the next? Shall we stop? I think.
Yeah, I think Mr.
4:48.
Asanga is there to give the vote of thanks. So we will invite our council member. Asanga, you are there?
Yeah, thank you, sir. Hope I'm visible.
Can't see you.
Yes.
Now we can see you. Right, fine. Now,
Yes. Yeah. Can I start, sir? Now?
Yeah. Okay, you can give the vote.
Yeah. When another successful sessions come to an end, I have to express my gratitude to everyone who participated in this whole process. At the outset, let me thank our resource personnel. Today, we have very eminent resource personnel with extensive experience in this AI area. AI is now, today, it's a kind of buzzword. Even the little kids or younger generation, they talk about AI, ChatGPT, and everything. So I must thank Mr. Conrad Dias as well as Mr. Prabhash Galagedara for giving us insights on the topic on the evolving landscape of management accounting in the age of AI. I'm very thankful to the entire participant of this session. Then I'm confident that our institute, CMA Institute, will continue to have such knowledge dissemination endeavors
moderator,
with diverse topics in the future.
Thank the moderator.
Yes, yes. And we can't forget our eminent professor, Senior Professor Kennedy Gunawardena. He has done a wonderful job moderating this session. And I take this opportunity to thank entire council led by Professor Vatawala and the CMA staff for making the session success. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Actually, Mr. Asanga is the chairman of the education committee. So I think he should look into all the matters relating to what you all have mentioned to ensure that not only the students but members. Now, this is a CPD program which we are giving to the membership, and of course we have invited others also who have come in. So thanks a lot, Asanga. So let me also finally thank our uh, keynote speaker, Mr. Conrad Dias. I think even he was very, very happy and pleased to come and speak on this topic, because I know that he is really someone who's really very much involved in the fintech industry and also on AI. So thanks a lot, Conrad. And also, Prabhash, we are very thankful to you, although it was late. I think Majinta was able to speak to you, and being a colleague at JKH, he was able to convince you to come. So we are very thankful, and also for the presentation of the book. And of course, senior Professor Kennedy Gunod, he is also on our council, although he is the head of the Department of Accounting, because on our council, we have eminent people like senior Professor Kennedy Gunod. The University of Sri Jayawardhanapura is represented on our council, so that's a great strength to us. And let me thank him. And also we have our other council members who are here, Mr. Gajendra, and our acting CEO, Mr. Kosala Disanaka, and our senior director, Ms. Shanti, who have been organizing this, and all our members and other colleagues who have joined us. And I'm sure that we will have very many more CPD programs which will really benefit you. And let me thank all of you. It was really a very, I think, one of the best webinars that we have had, because this really will upgrade and, as you said, upskill the knowledge of our professionals. And I think you've done a great job in this direction. So let me thank you once again. And we do hope that we'll be able to invite you for many more of our sessions. Thank you and all the best to you.
Thank you very much, Professor, for inviting
you.
us. And it's our pleasure to share our knowledge